A shooting turns deadly in Washington, D.C. At least 21 people shot, one killed, after a dispute at a large gathering overnight.
One person is dead and 20 others are injured after a shooting at a block party in Washington, D.C.
A community in our nation's capital was left devastated after 20 people were hurt and a teenager was killed during a shooting at a party.
Police in Washington, D.C. say a dispute that erupted into gunfire during a large outdoor party left one person dead and at least 20 others injured. The chief of the Metropolitan Police Department told reporters that the man killed was identified as 17-year-old Christopher Brown. Now, the police chief says there were at least 3 shooters. No arrests have been made so far, and there have been hundreds of attendees at that gathering despite city restrictions on large events during the pandemic.
Have any updates on the shooting at the mass gathering that happened in Ward 7 2 weeks ago, or other thoughts about that?
No, I do not have an update on that. I did talk to the chief about it at the time. What's going through my mind right now? I know that there are folks who are concerned, rightfully so, about gun violence, who offer a number of suggestions of things that we should be doing. Our gun laws are arguably the best in the country, and a lot of ideas that people have come up with, we're already doing in our laws. We have very strict laws with regard to legally possessing firearms. If there's any issue of mental illness, any history of violence, and we're in the minority of jurisdictions that actually require registration. These shootouts occur from people who have illegal firearms, and there's the rub, because federal law makes it difficult for jurisdictions, for states to limit interstate trafficking in guns, and it really requires a federal solution. The illegal guns in the district come from Maryland or Virginia mostly, and our ability to track those guns is limited by federal law. It's just a horrible situation, and I'm hopeful that we will see a change in Congress that will enable us to get better national gun laws, which will help us in the district. I'm not sure what else I want to say on that, other than that we have to continue to find ways to deal with gun violence. No, because I don't have jurisdiction directly over MPD and public safety. I can't answer the question why nobody's been arrested or what the status is of the investigation. I will say this, I've said this in the past. I kind of hesitate to say it publicly, but I think that we are too tolerant of violence in this city. And the way I put it is a bit provocative. I apologize for that. But it's another way of saying what the questioner said, which is desensitized. We're too accepting of the violence that's occurred and not shocked enough. And I don't mean all of us, but I mean collectively us. There is too much violence, and there isn't the shock that there should be. I do think that there's some strategies that could significantly make a difference. The fact that the shooters, according to the questionnaire, have not been apprehended means that they're out on the street to shoot some more and probably have shot some more. And one way to reduce the violence is to close more cases more quickly. And that's a function of good police work. But good police work sometimes, in fact, I shouldn't say sometimes, good police work depends on community trust, that the police have such good relations with the community, the people in the community who know what happened come forward and talk. And it may be that that's not happening. I remember seeing that with Kathy Lanier, that she used to talk about when she became chief, that people just wouldn't come forward. And over the years, under her leadership, trust was built up and people would come forward. And that really helped police in closing cases. Closing cases is key to reducing violence. But there are other strategies. I was talking with my staff yesterday about this. A lot of violence is gang related. And when I say gang related, it doesn't have to be like really super organized gangs, but a group, a crew, and they get into a beef with another crew, and then there's a shooting between them, and then there's retaliation, and there's strategies to intervene and to reduce that, I'm going to call it quid pro quo violence. And I don't know that we're doing that as well as we should be. So there's more we can be doing to reduce the violence. Violence ought to get to the point where we are shocked when it occurs, and also to the point where isn't the feeling on the part of some of these individuals that they need to retaliate, and a greater intolerance on the part of the community, so they come forward and they tell the police, inform the police, so that the cases can be closed. There are multiple strategies that have to be pursued. I would add as well that we have tough gun laws in this city. There actually was something in the news the other day about how the increase in shootings and homicides is a national phenomenon. And that would be across jurisdictions with weak gun control laws and strong gun control laws. I don't know that there's more we can do on the gun control front. I mean, really, after Heller, I was in the thick of rewriting our gun law, and I don't think there's any jurisdiction that has a stronger gun law than we do. And it's been challenged a number of times in court. So I think to some extent, our problem would be easier if the federal government were to step up and finally do something in the area of gun control. I do not have an update. I meet regularly with the chief, but I didn't discuss this with him recently, so I do not have an update. How is it possible? Well, there are several reasons. Without knowing the specifics here, if the perpetrators were masked, that would reduce how many people would recognize them. There has been a problem in some communities where folks are very hesitant to come forth and talk to police and to identify perpetrators. I remember when Kathy Lanier became chief, a point that she made over and over again was that when police have lost the trust of the community will be unwilling to partner with the police to identify perpetrators and solve crimes. So it falls on the police to build trust and build relationships so that more people are willing to come forward. And that might be a factor here as well. You know, I think I get this question every meetup. And I think the questioner expects that on this event, I should be asking questions of the chief all the time. Well, as it happens, I did. And my recollection is that the police are continuing to investigate, but that they've had a problem with witnesses. And unfortunately, this is often the case. I remember when I chaired judiciary, realizing this. And it speaks in part to the need to have a trust relationship between the police and the community. But I don't mean by that a criticism in this matter. My impression, and I spoke with the chief about this a couple of weeks ago, so I'm speaking more from what I remember more generally. My impression is that the suspects are known violent offenders, and that people who saw what happened are afraid to come forward and on the record say what happened and be witnesses in a trial. U.S. Attorney will not prosecute a case if they don't feel that they can win. I'm not sure that's good. I think the U.S. Attorney is sometimes too cautious and is more concerned with its win-loss record than with justice, which is prosecuting, in this case, prosecuting crimes. But in any event, there's no point in the police arresting individuals if the U.S. Attorney is not going to prosecute. And again, I'm speaking more generally because I don't want to say here that what the chief said to me is, oh yes, he knows Joe, Pete, and Sam, and he's gone to the U.S. Attorney, and the U.S. Attorney has said, no, we're not going to prosecute Joe, Pete, and Sam. I don't want to convey that. But there needs to be more evidence. There needs to be, in particular, witnesses in order for that shooting, the case to be closed against the shooters.
I need to just. The up top of my phone don't work. Oh my God! Oh my God!
They shooting like shit, Mo. Not they shooting.
Get low! Get low! Charlie, get low!
My car that way, we gotta get him though.